Hey guys, what's going on, dudes? It is David here. We're back with another video. Now, in this video, guys, the NFL season is going to be coming up this coming week. The first Thursday game is going to be the Chiefs versus Ravens. So I decided to break down both conferences, and today you'll be seeing my predictions for the AFC, including my playoff teams, and then tomorrow you'll be seeing my playoff predictions or predictions for the NFC, which is going to be where my team is. So, without further ado, let's get into the start. The AFC. Let's start with the AFC West. I have the Kansas City Chiefs winning the division with a record of 14-3. The Chargers finishing second with a record of 10-7, making the playoffs and getting the tiebreaker over another 10-7 team in the same division, the Denver Broncos with Sean Payne. Now, I just feel like the Chargers are a more well-complete team, and now the fact that they have Harbaugh as the coach, it's going to be a better option, and they're going to be able to run the ball a lot easier without having to worry on Justin Herbert so much. And even though Sean Payne is like a very good coach, and I very much hate Sean Payne from his time as his New Orleans Saint, obviously, but I still respect Sean Payne. I just don't believe he's going to be able to get this Denver Broncos team with a rookie quarterback into the playoffs. They will have a winning record. I just don't think that they're going to make the playoffs. And that leaves the last team of the AFC West. That is the Las Vegas Raiders. Gardner Minshew ain't enough. And even with Devontae Adams, they lost Josh Jacobs. So their passing game and their rushing game is not going to be well. Their defense is going to be able to enough to get them 6 wins, but it's still not going to be able enough to get them a winning record. Next, we move on into the AFC East. We have, in last place, the New England Patriots. I feel like the New England Patriots are going to have one of the worst records when it comes to the NFL, and I think a lot of people predict that because it's still a rebuilding year for New Orleans Patriots. I highly doubt they're going to fire their first-year coach, Jerome Mayo, but it's going to be interesting to see. I had the Patriots finishing at 3-14. Bills are at number 3 with a record of 8-9. The Bills lost Stephon Diggs. The Bills lost a lot of good players on defense. And yes, they did draft Keon Coleman, they have Shakir, and they still have James Cook and Josh Allen. I just don't think it's going to be enough considering the 2 other teams that they're going to have to compete with are more well-complete teams and what they have around them. It's going to be really, really tough. Second place in the AFC East, I have the Miami Dolphins finishing with a record of 11-6. Odell Beckham Jr., Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, Jalen Ramsey, all these complete options are going to be well. But the one person I don't trust on the Dolphins still to this day is Tua. I do not trust Tua, and I think out of all the quarterbacks that are in the AFC East, they have the second best quarterback, and that means winning the AFC East is going to be the New York Jets, finishing with a record of 13-4. I honestly do believe that the New York Jets had Aaron Rodgers last season. They would have easily made the playoffs. Now that they have him, Garrett Wilson, adding Mike Williams, the running back game is still going to be strong with Breece Hall. They still got Sauce Gardner on defense. They got a loaded defense. It's going to be a good year for New York Jets, and they finished first with the Jets and the Dolphins making the playoffs. Next, we have the AFC South. We have the Houston Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars, Indianapolis Colts, and the Tennessee Titans. And yes, you just heard that right. The way I name the teams is how my order goes. The Titans finishing at 5-12. I don't like Calvin Ridley. I do not trust Calvin Ridley at all. From his time at Atlanta, he was always a number 2 option. He was never going to be a number 1. Now, he's looked at as a number 1 in Tennessee. And they just lost Derrick Henry, who's going to be a big addition for the Baltimore Ravens when it comes to this season. So that's going to be a big loss for them. Titans at 5-12. The Colts finishing at 7-10. Anthony Richardson is going to be hopefully in his first full season because, of course, he got injured within the first 6 games of last season. And I just don't see this as a year where the Colts can have enough to make the playoffs. Yes, their roster is very, very good. I just don't see it happening. The Jaguars are going to miss the playoffs, finishing at 9-8. They just paid Trevor Lawrence, but at least Trevor Lawrence will have a winning season. And considering the fact that they still have additions to make before I believe they're able to compete with the Houston Texans for the AFC South, I still think the Jacksonville Jaguars get a winning record. And yes, I have the Texans winning the AFC South, finishing with a record of 12-5. The additions that they made to the team is just absolutely complete. Joe Mixon at the running back position, having Stephon Diggs along with Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and CJ Stroud is just going to be absolutely amazing. Derek Stingley on defense, Will Anderson on the defense as well. It's going to be just very good for Texans. And that leaves us with the final division, and I think it's going to be the closest division in terms of like winning records and everything like this, because it's really, really tough to predict the AFC North. But in last place, I have the Baltimore, hear me, the Cleveland Browns. And the only reason I have the Cleveland Browns finishing record with a record of 7-10, one person and one person only. The guy that they paid almost $250 million. I do not like Deshaun Watson as the Cleveland Browns quarterback. I believe that Dorian Thompson will probably start a few games, considering I think that there's a chance that Deshaun Watson does get hurt. And I feel like if Deshaun Watson does get hurt, that's going to be the one that costs the Browns from making the playoffs. But they got a loaded defense. I like their offense. Browns finished 7-10. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is going to be the most interesting one because, of course, Mike Tomlin, since he's been as the Pittsburgh Steelers coach, he's never had a losing season. But this year, his quarterback is Russell Wilson. And I believe that during the first half of the season, he's going to continue. He's going to turn to Russell Wilson, obviously, as a starter, and that's going to cost him his winning record. I believe that Justin Fields will come in towards the second half of the season and start playing better than Russell Wilson did and start picking up more wins, considering Justin Fields now has receiving options. He's able to run the ball. I believe he was top 5 for rushing yards last season in the NFL before the Chicago Bears didn't sign him. Steelers are going to finish 8-10, 8-9, and Mike Tomlin will have his first losing season. And I don't really like saying that because I like Mike Tomlin as a head coach. Second place, making the playoffs, is the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the reason why the Bengals are going to be second, Joe Mixon at the running back position is going to be a loss. Obviously, they lost Taylor Boyd at wide receiver, but they still got Jamar Chase, who's going to get paid, and they still got T. Higgins at the wide receiver position, and I still love Joe Burrow. I still love them, but it's just not going to be enough to win the division, and of course, that leaves one team left, and that is the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Baltimore Ravens will be finishing with a record of 12-5, which means, of course, the winners of the AFC is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, here are the teams that I have, if you guys were paying attention. Here are the teams I have making the playoffs. From the AFC West, we have the Chiefs and the Chargers. From the AFC East, we have the Jets and the Dolphins. From the AFC South, we have the Houston Texans. And from the AFC North, we have the Ravens and the Bengals. Now, I want to know your guys' opinions down in the comments down below. Who do you think out of the AFC is going to be making the playoffs? And I'm excited for you guys to tune in tomorrow when I make my NFC predictions, because let's just say this. The NFC predictions is going to be a lot closer than what I predicted for the AFC. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow to the video. We're back, guys. Football season's back, and I will see you guys all next time.